And now more than ever, we are dependent on big pharma, still addicted to big food, and dependent on these medical associations. They make us believe that we need something outside of ourselves, and that there, I believe, is the biggest harm of all. Wait, actually, there is a bigger harm, and this is what is happening to our children.
Welcome to the Dr. Ashley Show.
Imagine finding Ozempic next to your favorite bulk buys at your local Costco wholesale. Sounds convenient, but what's the real cost of accessing prescription weight loss drugs alongside your day-to-day shopping or even normalizing this behavior? Today, we're breaking down the facts, debunking myths, and exploring if these drugs are really the miracle solution to obesity or just a profit-driven fad. Welcome to the Dr. Ashley Show. I'm Dr. Ashley, and I'm so grateful that you're here. If you enjoy listening to the show, please subscribe. Our stats show that only 16% of viewers are subscribed, which means 84% of you guys watching haven't subscribed yet. When more of you subscribe, our show is able to positively impact more people. We can get bigger guests on the show and teach you more. So please do subscribe right now. All right, guys, let's dive in. During the last 3 months of 2022 alone, U.S. healthcare providers wrote more than 9 million prescriptions for Wegovy and other injectable drugs used for weight loss. Influencers like Oprah and others in Hollywood have created hype around these drugs that reminds me of fen-phen in the 90s. Lots of people have asked my opinion on them, if I'm going to start implementing them into my company's weight loss approach. And the answer to that is no. I logistically could easily do it, but my gut says no. Something about it scares me, and I've learned over and over again in my life that I've got to listen to my intuition. I'm not judging or shaming those who go that route. Judgment and shame seem like buzzwords around these drugs, but for me, it's just an intuition feeling thing, and they don't align with my company's purpose. Our purpose at PhD Weight Loss is to help people step up, better their lives, and become self-sufficient, and these drugs just don't do that for the majority of people. 70% of people who go off these drugs gain their weight back. I also have a biased opinion, I understand that, but I see no need for these drugs for most people, because I see people drop weight painlessly, no hunger, no cravings, 2 to 3 pounds per week with no meds, no side effects, no dependencies, all through changing the way they eat and think about food when they have the right guidance, but more about that later. We have a lot of folks come to PhD on these drugs because they were quickly prescribed them by their doctor, and we have them work with that doctor to let them go because they don't need the drugs. But let's dive into them. When could they potentially be helpful, and when do they do more harm than good? So first off, what are these drugs and how do they work? Well, they are called GLP-1 agonists, Ozempic, Wegovy, most commonly called in the news. They work by mimicking a gut hormone that causes you to feel full. So it acts like an appetite suppressant. You eat less calories in, and you lose weight. Mounjaro has been on the market for weight loss since 2022 and Ozempic since 2021. The long-term effects of those on the drug for weight loss purposes is unknown since they are so new. All right, so when could these drugs be helpful? Well, they could be helpful if you've got severe obesity, severe disease, if you have a BMI of over 40, if you are considering bariatric surgery, this could be an alternative option. And I can see this, but honestly, even this is a little challenging for me because at PhD, I see clients like this every day drop 100 plus pounds without drugs or surgery. For example, Chris comes to mind. He came in as a truck driver and busy traveling all the time, and he's dropped over 100 plus pounds in a short period of time through just changing his nutrition and behavior and the support of PhD. I was in one of the offices last week and met with one of our clients who's a college student, and she just dropped, while doing college, 100 plus pounds, got a job, and is so ready to jumpstart the next stage of her life. So I see people drop massive weight without these drugs and without surgery, but I understand not everyone has that same opportunity. The benefits could also outweigh the risks of these drugs if someone has severe metabolic disease and just doesn't want to change their lifestyle. Let's say they're not willing to make any changes at all, then these drugs could help them drop some of this weight. So the plus sides for these drugs are that they work. They reduce hunger, they're effective, there's metabolic benefits when you lose the weight. So the benefits from these drugs come from the weight loss, not the drugs themselves. But these drugs are not helpful if you don't have severe obesity, If you're looking to look better for a wedding or change some pant sizes, if you're older and don't have good healthy muscle mass, if you don't have a BMI of greater than 40, if you're hitting menopause and hate the belly fat that often comes with it, if you're a guy with a gut and you're tired of the gut, the risks just don't outweigh the benefits. Same thing if you're not willing to lift heavy weights or go to the gym when you're taking the drugs. If you're not going to focus on your diet or exercise, this could be a huge reason not to take the medications. The reason why is because these drugs aren't worth it in these scenarios because they have a scary side effect profile. And because half the weight most people lose is muscle, which means these drugs can really mess you up. Other downsides are that you have to take it forever. It's expensive, about $1,700 a month. It would actually cost the US $5.1 trillion a year if we put everyone who is obese on the drugs. So let's dive into these side effects. All right, so short-term side effects. About 2/3 of the people taking these medications have significant nausea, stomach issues, pain, gallstones, hair loss. It's even associated with thyroid cancer if you've got that in your family. It's not been out that long, and we're seeing now 2 to 3 years down the line that the side effect profile is not great. The risk of bowel obstruction increases by 450% and requires surgical intervention to cure. The drug works in the gut, it changes the gut and makes the intestines thicker, which increases the risk of them kind of getting knotted up, and that's what bowel obstruction is. Risk of pancreatitis increases as well by about 900%, and pancreatitis affects everything. You can actually die from it. The drugs also play with key aspects of your brain that controls taste, memory, your gut mobility. It changes serotonin and dopamine, which are those feel-good neurotransmitters. It messes around with your gut, which we now know pretty much controls all aspects of your health. Plus, there are all of the unknowns. There is a lot that we haven't discovered yet. Hey guys, quick interruption to the Dr. Ashley show. After a decade of helping thousands shed pounds, I realized the need for an electrolyte mix tailored to support lean muscle mass and metabolic needs. People always talk about electrolytes for different sports or lifting weights, but what about for weight loss? It's a marathon of its own. Drumroll please, introducing Electrolyte Plus, your marathon champion. Packed with patented ingredients for optimal absorption, it fuels metabolism, supports adrenals, and stabilizes blood sugar. Say goodbye to those headaches and lightheadedness. Visit drashleywellness.com and use code Ashley10 for 10% off your first purchase or 20% off your first subscription order with free shipping. Plus, enjoy a 30-day money-back guarantee. Back to the show. But I will say I am always skeptical, always curious, and believe everything has a trade-off. I always seem to ask, okay, what's the cost here? We just need to understand that this is not a risk-free solution. So let's take a minute and dive into the muscle mass predicament. The duration and step trials are studies done on Ozempic, and they found that participants can maintain their weight loss, but only if they keep taking the drug. The step 1 trial shows that the majority of weight loss comes from muscle mass, which is more so than even through severe caloric restriction. In the SUSTAIN-H trial, lean mass loss was 40% despite lower doses of the drug and less total weight loss than step 1. Maintaining muscle mass, we know, is the secret to maintaining weight loss for the long term. And we know this based upon helping thousands of people drop weight without drugs and through a lot of science and research. We see time and time again that people who go off these drugs gain their weight back and are in worse condition than they were before. We can't afford to lose this muscle mass, especially in older populations. The dual hazards of excess fat mass and low levels of muscle are significant. Further reductions in muscle mass among those with too little could pose a greater threat to health and longevity than the presence of excess fat weight. Because when you lose muscle like this, your whole health declines. Muscle burns 7 times the amount of calories that fat does. Muscle mass is the marker for longevity. It's our metabolic currency. Older people really can't afford to lose muscle like this because it's almost impossible to get it back. And now the metabolism is even slower than it was to begin with. Weight loss is just not a good proxy for fat loss. Drugs designed to treat obesity are really only beneficial if they can improve body composition in addition to body weight. We're not looking at a complete picture here, and we've got to be sure that folks on these drugs are eating adequate protein and they're managing lifting weights. You know, it sounds easy, but it's actually a struggle. Eating adequate protein is hard. I have a hard time eating adequate protein every day. And eating adequate protein on a GLP-1 is nearly impossible for most people. Maintaining muscle mass on a GLP-1 is extremely difficult, which is why half the weight loss on these drugs often comes from muscle. To maintain muscle mass, you've got to lift weights, and when you're on these drugs, you don't feel like lifting because you don't have good energy and you've got a lack of nourishment. You're underfed, undermuscled, and tired. You don't have the serotonin to feel good and lost the dopamine hit from working out. I want to talk a little bit about the food noise because besides weight loss, one of the benefits folks mention on these drugs is that it quiets the food noise. So food noise or food chatter is when you're eating a meal and thinking about what you're going to eat next. And I had that before I created PhD and followed this lifestyle. And 95% of our clients who come to PhD experience the food noise and food chatter. But guys, there's a natural way to quiet that chatter. You don't need a drug to quiet the food chatter or the food noise. You can do it naturally just in the way you think and the way you eat. But we haven't been taught that in mainstream medicine or mainstream nutrition. And it's really unfair and it makes me really upset. I think medical associations and big pharma are in it together. First, they teach us the wrong things about healthy eating. They push, it's your fault, eat less, move more. And then they get in bed with big food and push their fat-free, low-fat, now vegan foods, Beyond Meat, cricket protein. We fear fat, we fear animal protein. We don't know what the heck to eat. So we eat their processed foods, which results in hunger and cravings and food noise, food addiction, and disease. It makes us feel hopeless, weak, and powerless. It makes us feel like failures. And wait, there's more. Then they create this drug and it takes away some of these symptoms. But it only takes away the symptoms if we take the drug forever. So now they make us dependent and disempower us to feel like we can't achieve good health or a healthy weight on our own. As a result, and now more than ever, we are dependent on big pharma, still addicted to big food, and dependent on these medical associations. They make us believe that we need something outside of ourselves, and that there, I believe, is the biggest harm of all. Wait, actually, there is a bigger harm, and this is what is happening to our children. This makes me outraged. The American Academy of Pediatrics' first line of defense for obese children age 12 or older are these drugs. They're testing it on kids as young as 6 years old. I've always figured that medical associations are run by drug companies, but now I know for sure. Obesity in children is not a GLP-1 drug deficiency. It should not be used as the first line of defense. These drugs will negatively impact these kids as they learn how to make good food decisions. It'll negatively impact their muscles, their brain development. It's impacting their serotonin and dopamine and setting them up for a lifetime dependency on pharmaceuticals, which is exactly what they want. This breaks my heart and makes me sick to my stomach, and I have no idea how this is allowed. Obesity is not a GLP-1 deficiency. Jumping to pharmaceutical interventions without nutrition, behavior, lifestyle, mental health intervention first is not the right approach. Taking these drugs by themselves misses the real issue. We're just masking the problem. By taking a drug without nutrition and lifestyle intervention, which most people are doing, we haven't learned to change our eating habits, our thoughts about food. We don't know how to feed our bodies to sustain optimal health. We're truly relying on a drug to maintain that weight, most likely for the rest of our lives. Weight loss is complicated, and it's not an easy fix like this, especially for our children. Meanwhile, government officials, agencies, pharma all continue to corrupt our food system, and they don't teach us basic nutrition knowledge, and they don't properly teach us how to care for our bodies. They will continue to let us eat crap poison food so that we will continue to be pharma customers. I want you to know if you're struggling with your weight or you know someone who is and you don't want to take the drugs, I want you to know that you've got other options in which you can achieve even better results. You've got the power within yourself. You just need the right information, support, and a deep desire and commitment to create that positive change. The day I was writing this episode, someone texted me a quote from the Oracle of Delphi, and I thought it pertained to today's episode. Here it is. Heed these words, you who wish to probe the depths of nature. If you do not find within yourself that which you seek, neither will you find it outside of yourself. If you ignore the wonders of your own house, how do you expect to find other wonders? In you is hidden the treasure of treasures. Know thyself, and you will know the universe and the gods. Remember, you've got to step up to make the change. Lead with your heart, train your mind, and do not negotiate with your body. See you next time.